This is Cast of Wonders, the young adult fiction podcast featuring stories of the fantastic. Welcome. Episode 610. I'm Catherine Inskip, your editor and host. Our story for Halloween week is What Cannot Be Cured Must Be Endured by Elizabeth Ring, a Cast of Wonders original. Elizabeth Ring is a writer and reader of eclectic things. Her fiction has appeared in publications including Apex, Wild Blood, and Martian Magazine. She spends most of her time trying to wear out her energetic dog and keep her cat away from the houseplants. When she has time, she makes progress on her unwieldy to-be-read pile and writes reviews on some of those books. You can read them at ringreads.com. This story is narrated by Danny Daly. Danny Daly, former assistant editor of Cast of Wonders, is a jack of many trades, master of none. But seeing as she loves the rogue life, that's okay with her. You can hear stories she's narrated on all 4 Escape Artists podcasts, Starship Sofa, Glittership, and Asimov's Science Fiction podcast, or you can buy the audiobook she's narrated at audible.com under the name Danielle Daly. You can also contact her on Twitter at Danuli_Danny or at DanielleDailyReads.com if you'd like her to read for you. And now, we've a tale to tell.
What Cannot Be Cured Must Be Endured by Elizabeth Ring. Read by Danny Daly. They say if you take the old scarecrow out back, jam some old leaves in there to make up for some of the straw that's fallen out, and put a jack-o'-lantern on the shoulders where the head used to be, you can make it almost as good as new. And then, if you get the old pill bottle filled with your baby teeth out of your mom's dresser drawer and shove the tiny white contents into the jack-o'-lantern's wide grin, you can make it come alive. It won't walk fast, but it can walk on its own. And in a town this small, walking is fine. Because the post-harvest ball party is at the Mackenzie's house, and that's less than a mile away. If you listen close, you can almost hear the rest of the sophomore class, and a few juniors too, laughing and cheering, and generally having a great time at the not-so-secret party that you weren't invited to, after the dance that you never expected to be asked to, but were. Sort of. Hear that one laugh booming over the others? That's Ryan Franklin. You know that's Ryan Franklin, and he's probably still laughing, will probably always be laughing, about how he made you think, for over a week, that you were worthy of being included. Going to the dance required a date, and since the party is after the dance, and everyone would be there with their dates, it would have been weird for you to just be there alone. That's what Vanessa Schmidt said when you asked about coming to the party anyway. She had been the only one with the decency to look ashamed, while everyone else was laughing at you, after Ryan Franklin revealed the punchline, that you and your gullibility were the punchline. But she clearly didn't feel bad enough about the whole thing to make her boyfriend, Elliot Mackenzie, let you come to the party by yourself. The scarecrow, 7 feet tall, and maybe a little lumpy where you didn't get the leaves distributed right, can be your date for tonight. They can't possibly keep you out of the party now. They say home is where the heart is, but high school has taught you that this place is more about heartbreak. Like no one wanting to play with you in elementary school. Or the Little League coach sticking you out in right field while letting Amy Johansson, who was not at all better than you at catching or throwing or tagging, but was the coach's niece, play shortstop. People talk about small-town hospitality and how close-knit everyone is in places like this. But what they leave out is how easy it is to be an outsider from that closeness. You got here when you were in the 1st grade, but that means nothing compared to everyone who's known each other since diapers, who see each other at family reunions, whose last names litter the cemetery. They cling together, everyone in on the same joke, but you. Your family isn't the only one in town that's moved here this millennium, and maybe you would have been uncool wherever you lived. But everything is so insular here that it hurts just that much extra. But you've been trying so hard to change that. You've mowed lawns the last 4 summers to earn money so you can buy the right clothes. You've been trying to work your way into the fringes of their groups by taking the right classes and sitting in the right spot at lunch and letting people copy your notes and fine your assignments, all to show them that you're great. You're cool. Aren't you someone worth being friends with, let alone talking to? It was working. Or you thought it was working. Because Vanessa was getting really friendly with you in biology. And Elliot and Ryan have been talking to you almost every day in algebra for weeks. Amy Jo and her sister Sarah let you sit next to them at lunch the other day. Maybe that's why it didn't feel fake when Ryan kept very strongly hinting that he was going to ask you to the Harvest Ball. All like, I can't believe no one's asked you to the ball yet. And, what do you think would be a better date for a dance? Italian in a limo ride? Or steak in a horse-drawn carriage? Maybe it felt like the culmination of all your efforts. Like you earned this. Maybe that's why it hurt so much when he came over the intercom, because his dad's the assistant principal, and went on about the girl he wanted to ask being someone he's known for a long time, and how amazing she has always been, but he didn't ever see it until now. And then asked Haley Mackenzie, who's just a freshman. The laughter that tittered through the biology classroom because everyone knew what he'd been saying to you. Everyone knew that you were waiting for it, was just the icing on the cake. Yet here, beside you, is a date nonetheless. His eyes are shining bright with a fire you didn't light. He grins at you with your own teeth. He doesn't seem to be able to speak, and the face you cut for him is a little lopsided. But other than that, he's not bad. The last few trick-or-treaters lingering on the sidewalks barely even notice you. You're used to not being noticed. But that's going to change tonight. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. And that's fitting, because by the time you turn onto the Mackenzie's street, your fingers hurt and your nose is numb, and you can't even feel your toes. But it's hard to say if that's because of the cold, or the fact that you're doing all this in 4-inch heels and the formal dress you went into the city to buy when you thought you were going to the dance. The skirt is dragging in the dirt. The shawl that came with the dress, in matching spangled silvery satin, is woefully inadequate for the night's chill. Your feet were unprepared for walking almost a mile in these strappy heels, and you're pretty sure a blister or two has already popped. You are Cinderella, minus the fairy godmother and the musical mice. Your magical pumpkin has taken another form. Beside you, your silent Prince Charming lopes along, leaving behind him a trail of straw and leaves. He's wearing one of your mom's old button-ups, the denim worn threadbare in the elbows, and the jeans were a pair of your dad's that are more patch than pant at this point. Your mom had originally added a pair of your old work boots as shoes, back when your scarecrow thing was just a scarecrow, but they kept flopping and dragging, so you finally took them off and tied them around his neck. Your parents didn't seem concerned about you when you left, possibly because you told them you were going to the ball with a bunch of kids from school, and Possibly because they didn't notice the living scarecrow waiting for you in the driveway. You're still not sure what you'll do when you get there. You saw Carrie on TV a while ago when your parents were out. That kind of retribution was horrifying to watch. And you're not exactly dripping with pig's blood yourself. But you can't deny you've thought about sending that scarecrow thing after your so-called friends. He'd do it, the scarecrow thing. Jack, he has to have a name. You can feel the potential radiating from him as a tug on your chest and an uncanny awareness of your gums. You're not sure if he'll do whatever you say or whatever you want. You're not sure either what you want or what you'll say. It's a little scary, still not knowing as you stand in front of the house, but it's also exhilarating. You can hear music playing under the ebullience coming from the back, laughing and happy screaming, and a from a can of something probably alcoholic. Though you might have imagined that last one. They don't know you're here. They don't know that everything could change with a snap of your fingers. The chickens have come home to roost, as the saying goes. And the kids back there don't realize they are in the henhouse, and you are the fox of this mixed metaphor. When you glance at Jack, it seems the fire in his carved-out eyes is burning brighter than ever. It's burning brighter inside you, too, as you think of how Ryan always leaned so close that you could practically taste his cinnamon gum on your tongue. How you saw him at Hanson's grocery, and you waved, and he looked so very intently at the gallon of milk in his hand. How Amy, Jo, and Sarah let you sit by them, but they didn't actually talk to you. Vanessa didn't talk to you in biology either, until the first test of the year that she bombed and you aced. How it was right after that Elliot and Ryan randomly started talking to you in algebra. How stupid you were to think that they wanted anything from you but your homework. Jack is glowing like a street lamp now, bright enough that you can see the limo parked down the street a little. Did Ryan and Haley enjoy their Italian? Jack's rage feels good in your chest. But there's this one inconvenient memory that also pops up. They say time heals all wounds, which cannot possibly be true. But that's what your mom said with a shrug that one time when she ran into one of her old bullies back in her hometown. It wasn't a lot different than this place, in a different state. You'd all gone back for a funeral for your mom's uncle 5 years ago? One of the workers at the mortuary had looked at your mom sheepishly, then waved quickly and excused himself. You'd asked what that was all about. Your mom had been quiet for a few long seconds. Then she said, "He used to give me a hard time in high school." That was long enough back that you hadn't known what it was like to be given a hard time in high school. The cruelty you experienced on the playground had been sharp and cold, but everyone was mean to everyone sometimes, and it didn't feel so personal as what you deal with now. Still, you did know cruelty, and you didn't understand how your mom could stand there, unchanged. Maybe you asked her that, and maybe you made a joke about going to beat him up. You can't remember which. You just remember her saying, "It's okay. That was a long time ago." And then the shrug, and the adage. Your mom doesn't know about what happens at school, and definitely not about why you have no date to the ball you spent half of your remaining lawn-mowing money buying a dress for. You wonder what she'd say. Probably something about waiting it out, blah blah, college, blah blah, school is just a blip in the grand scheme of things. That might all be true, but it doesn't change how much it hurts now it doesn't change how much it feels like forever. Jack steps toward the house. Even though his straw feet aren't on fire, they leave blackened holes in the dormant lawn. He's right. Take care of this. Take care of all the people making life miserable. And then worry about what comes after. Something will come after, though. How did Carrie end? Your parents came home before you could find out. Something else always comes after. Unless it doesn't. And no matter how much like forever high school hell feels like, you're not prepared to die over it. If you don't die, it's not like you can hide the fact that you're at a party you aren't supposed to be at with some demonic scarecrow tearing the place up. You're going to get in trouble. So much trouble. And be even more of a pariah than you already were. Unless you kill them. Which you're definitely not going to do. And you're not sure you want to know if that idea came from you or Jack. He's still making slow, dragging strides, heading toward the driveway that leads around the back of the house. The party noises haven't stopped. They don't notice anything's wrong. It would probably be unreasonable for them to expect this, or guess why little patches of the Mackenzies' lawn are smoldering. No, you say. Jack, no, come back! Giving up isn't a choice that you make so much as not wanting to make a different decision. Jack doesn't stop, though, and you know now that he doesn't do what you say, but what you want deep down. They say, as you sow, so shall you reap. The archaic words echo in your head as you pick up your skirt and run after Jack. He's not moving very fast, but in these shoes, neither are you. Jack! You hiss-yell as you go, which does nothing except potentially give something for the partygoers to hear. Jack is rounding the front corner of the house. In the glow of lights on the back patio, you can see the frilled trains of 2 skirts, and you hope you don't have to get close enough to see who's wearing them. You catch Jack by the arm and gasp. He's blazing hot to the touch, even though the straw and the denim sleeve is fine. Whatever magic lets him burn without the straw and denim catching fire doesn't extend to you. You imagine your palms as the Mackenzies' grass, all blackened and smoking, but the alternative is letting Jack go. You can't keep holding on, though. Your shawl, flimsy and useless as it has been, finally has its moment, and you wrap it around your hands like gloves. That just makes the polyester melt onto your already injured palms. This new pain brings a yelp from your lips. But there's no time to wait and see if anyone heard because Jack is still moving forward. You take up the shawl again, and this time loop it around his head, right by the boots. You can knock his pumpkin head off, you think, and separate the magic from his body. Even though you didn't secure it with anything, just set it on top of the straw shoulders, it doesn't budge. The shawl keeps moving down, and you catch his waist instead. You pull. The shawl holds. Jack stops moving. You haul him back, your thin heels aerating the Mackenzies' poor lawn. You stumble when the damp earth refuses to let go of one shoe. But these are cheap shoes, and the strap that has blistered your heel now snaps against the pressure. That's enough to wrest it from the dirt, and from your foot at the same time. And now you limp and pull and stumble back toward the road. Jack's body is still facing the house and the driveway and the party beyond it, but he turns his head on his shoulders like an owl to look at you. The flickering light gleams in his eyes, and your teeth in his mouth are silhouetted so that they look like tiny headstones. By the pull in your chest and the tickle in your gums, you know he is not angry, but pleading with you. Let me do this. Let us do this. For a moment, you are tempted. The hurt from so many bad years does sting, and you've still got years of high school ahead of you. But then you shake your head and pull the shawl again. He goes down, even though you didn't pull that hard. Maybe he was still following your will to the end, and your will gave out. They say, all things must pass. They say, good things come to those who wait. They clearly weren't picked on in high school. But maybe they were still right? It's worth waiting to see, isn't it? You shake as much of the straw and leaves from the pants as you can before you slip them on under your skirt. They're huge, and stray straw bits poke you immediately in rather delicate areas, but you use what's left of the shawl as a makeshift belt around the outside of the pants. The shirt, you unbutton that and shake it out like a flag, though plenty of straw bits remain there too. You stuff your feet in the boots. They're way too small, but it's better than walking barefoot, or in those heels. You retrieve the broken one, and nudge the grass it ripped up into place as best you can. There's still a faint glow in the pumpkin, but it dims with every tooth you pry out of its grinning mouth. Instead of rage, it radiates sorrow, and you're crying too by the time you pick out the last incisor. It feels truer in your chest, and in your gums, and every other part of you, this being sad, than your rage did. And then, you have only a dark and hollowed-out pumpkin, a handful of old teeth, some scratchy clothes, and a pile of straw and leaves. You stuff as much of the straw into the pumpkin it will hold, and scatter the rest. In the backyard of the Mackenzies' house, there is still music and laughter. The limo has been swallowed by the darkness. Between the pumpkin and your heels, your arms are full for the long walk home. You are unnoticed. Always unnoticed. Time doesn't heal all wounds, but it brings distance from them, and every painful step now takes you a little farther away from revenge.
The thing I like best about this story is how well it handles the protagonist's need for revenge. In fiction, high school bullies are an excellent target for the full fury of a magical monstrosity hell-bent on revenge. Depending on the genre of fiction, that act of revenge may or may not come about, but for me neither of the obvious outcomes are satisfying. A violent act dehumanises, while magnanimous forgiveness is a different kind of negation, one that silences and glosses over our suffering. In this story there's no shred of doubt for me that no one gets an easy forgiveness, and the protagonist will have neither friendship nor justice by walking away from her revenge. It's a sad piece in that, but it's also hopeful, because it does get better, step by step by step. Join us again tomorrow when we take curtains out trick-or-treating. We love bringing you the best audio fiction week after week, but we can't do it without your support. Your donations pay our authors, our narrators, our servers and our staff. Please consider supporting us with a monthly donation through either PayPal or Patreon. You can also review us on Apple Podcasts, request us on Spotify, and consider the stories we publish for award consideration. There are lots of ways you can help. Join the discussion on the EA Discord and follow us on social media at castofwonders.org. Come say hello. Cast of Wonders is brought to you by editor Catherine Inskip, assistant editor Alicia Caparaso, associate editors Rebecca Arn, Tanya Adelit, Amy Brennan, Somtua Haseway, Cup Jacob, Becca Miles, Ray O, Samuel Poots, Pooja Prakabaran, Emma Smales, Denise Sudal and Rin Yi. Our editorial assistant is Amy Brennan, our community manager is Denise Sudal, and our audio producer is Jeremy Carter. Cast of Wonders is part of the Escape Artists Foundation, a 501c3 non-profit, and this episode is distributed under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. That means you could download or listen to the episode on any device you like, but you can't change it or sell it. Our theme music is Appeal to Heavens by Alexei Nov, available from Promo DJ or his Facebook page. Thank you for listening.